Welcome back to Let's Talk About Sonic, the podcast about the world's most famous hedgehog. We talked about trying to get the whole world's famous podcast thing settled. We're still working on it. I'm Crepe. In today's lock-on of an episode, all my levels are the ones that have water in them. I'm joined today by my co-host Mitt.
Hi, I'm Mitt. I'm always here every week. My half of the levels have the harder blue sphere stages.
Right. I like to keep things simple for the peoples where I can. We're talking about Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the third, fourth, and fifth Sonic game, depending on your view.
Yeah.
The third or the fourth and fifth or the third and fourth. And I'm in the fourth and fifth camp personally, but that is because I have some particular views on the game. I don't know where best to start. Like, for one, Sonic 3 rules.
It does rule. Sonic 3 is the coolest game ever made.
Right. It's got the swagger. It's got the swagger.
Sonic 3 is the kind of game that takes you out for a nice lunch. It pays for it. It pays for your ride home. And then, I don't know, it's just nice to you, and it respects your time, and it respects your company. And I respect it, and I'm glad I can play it. I'm happy it exists, and it introduced me to a cool new person named Knuckles the Echidna.
Right, the Knuckles the Echidna. He comes from a floating isle, and he likes to fall slowly in the air, is I think the most notable trait of his.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a neat thing that he does sometimes. He likes to do it for a long time. He'll just be out there like 50 feet off the ground and just falling slowly, and he'll hit the ground eventually.
Yeah, and a cool trick that's actually kind of advanced movement is if you actually hold forward or back while you fall slowly, you can actually glide in that direction. And that's pretty cool of them to add. I wouldn't think they would do that.
Yeah, you can go places with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've played a game before Sonic 3 and Knuckles that did that allowed you to go places.
Yeah, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is really innovative in that way, and that it's the first game to introduce a character that allows you to really go places. You couldn't do that in games before.
This is such a weird bit. I don't know what tone we slipped into.
This is such a strange level of irony for a game that we genuinely care about. I expected this out of when we talked about Sonic 2, but not Sonic 3.
Well, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think, what do I want to talk about first with Sonic 3? Because I care a lot about the art direction, the soundtrack. I care a lot about what Knuckles and the Floating Island add to the setting a lot. It's really interesting. I care about the level design. I care about the mechanics. It's the first time that Tails can fly. There's 3 playable characters if you're playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles. There's a lot. I don't know. I guess we could jump in with real thoughts on Knuckles.
Oh yeah, I just remembered. This is the game that introduced Tails. Forget about Knuckles for a second. They put Tails in this game. He wasn't in Sonic 2.
Right.
It was some weird other guy who's just, kind of short, and he has the 2 tails, but they don't really do anything. But now Tails is
they
here.
Just hover behind him.
Yeah, Tails is here. He's here finally. It took him a really long time to show up.
Yeah, when we were talking ironically about Knuckles being able to go anywhere, we were actually talking about Tails.
Yeah.
He's the character who can just go places.
I didn't think we would reference that in this episode, but okay. I know it's incidental. It's still funny.
I feel even more jumbled than I did a moment ago.
I'm sorry that my words were a thought wrecking ball to the stone brick wall that is your Sonic 3 psyche.
It was like you, Sonic T Hedgehog, jumping into me, the rock golem boss at the end of Standopolis Act 1. There you go.
Exactly.
and it only knocked me further away. It didn't actually finish me off. I don't really like playing Tails that much. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't know where you are on it, but like, I think his flight is not fun. It's like it does a lot, and you can do a lot with it, and it's important. I think it's excellent for people who are playing Sonic for the first time because it's very controllable. I still think it's that fun to control.
Yeah, it's good for new players, like you said. It still limits your control though. Like if you're a more experienced player, then you're not going to get a whole lot out of Tails' flight, especially because you can't recurl out of it, which I
Yeah.
guess has its own kind of thing about it. But yeah, once you're committed to a flight, that's all you're really gonna do, and because you can only get so much speed from flight at a time, it drastically limits your options once you're in the air. Um, I only like playing as Sonic out of like every game. He's just kind of my guy. I like the Insta Shield. I like pretty much all of the moves he's ever had, but the Insta Shield is pretty good.
Whoa, wait, hold on. What's the Insta Shield?
So the Insta Shield, or in other territories, the Twin Spin Attack, is a special move Sonic can perform starting in Sonic 3 that allows him to extend his jump's hitbox, but it also gives him a slight amount of invincibility frames, allowing him to not only pass through certain enemies and obstacles, but reflect certain projectiles.
Huh, that sounds really useful. Tell
It
me
super
more.
is. That's kind of all there is to it. Except in Sonic 3, it's really busted and they nerfed it in Sonic Mania, but it's still good.
Yeah, it's good for, at minimum, the fact that it gives you the temporary invincibility.
Mhm.
Just the fact that they kept that to the move in Mania means it's still handy.
Yeah.
They mostly just brought the hitbox further down, which, like,
Yeah, and the focus, if you go by the original name, the focus has always kind of been on the hitbox extension aspect of it, given that's kind of literally what Twin Spin Attack implies, the Insta Shield being more so just it implying that it's a defensive maneuver, which it is. It works as both. Um, but yeah, it's the best. I think now that we have the drop dash, I miss that a lot too. I kind of miss them both, which thank God Sonic Mania now has max control options, so you can just do whatever you want.
yeah. That's still like a cheat code, right?
Yeah, you have to do it on a level select.
Yeah.
The
So it's not like wholly a game option, but it is a game option. It's just they obfuscate it.
yeah, the code you have to put in to the sound test is a meme though.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's 9001.
Really?
Yes.
That's like, that doesn't even bother me. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I also like the Insta Shield, and I think it's really just for the same reasons you do, because it's a very surface level ability, and the things that make it good are really good and fun.
Yeah.
I also like playing Knuckles, but not as much. I think I enjoy a lot of. I mentioned this before. I enjoy the physics tricks aspects of the Genesis games a lot, and I don't think Knuckles like leans more into that per se, but you're more encouraged to work with the environment in that way to boost your abilities in platforming because he has the lower jump, and also because it synergizes well with getting a big vantage point from a large jump and then gliding over everything.
Yeah.
It's a little satisfying.
I don't like the glide that much just because if you land with it, then you're really stuck there. I don't like how segmented a lot of Knuckles' movement options feel. There's not that much flow to it, at least immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm also just super used to Sonic's jump height and everything, and that's just what I like to do the most.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a setback having the lower jump. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It's funny though, like I'm pretty sure like the only reason they did that was just to have some method of keeping Knuckles out of Sonic only paths or Sonic and Tails only paths.
Yeah.
And like
Although,
it works sometimes.
yeah, because like he could still climb up walls.
Yeah, they just like use other objects to make that harder.
Mhm.
It kind of works. It kind of doesn't.
It's okay.
There are a lot of times you can use a well-timed bounce off of a mod or a badnik with a glide to get up to places they don't want you to be in, which is funny. Usually results in soft locks.
I mean, the funny spin dash thing you have found, is that exclusive to Knuckles? Because I see you doing it with Knuckles pretty much
What funny spin dash thing?
in Flying Battery.
In Flying Battery.
You did it just before we started
No, but I don't know what thing you're talking about.
with the lasers, and you spin dash past the barrier. You just kind of hang out.
Oh. No, the spin dashing out of the bounds of the flying battery to pre-boss.
Yeah.
No, that's not Knuckles exclusive. Any character can do that.
Well, sorry,
It's-
Knuckles.
All it is moving outside of the bounds of the camera with the thing that you're trying to get past at the very left edge, just off screen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because objects that aren't on screen aren't active. So if you are where the object is, but you're off screen, it's not there. So you just go right past it.
Well, I think that's a good point to bring up Dr. Robotnik's deadly speed traps, which are a new feature in this game, and it's a feature. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Right, it's directly referenced in the manual.
Yeah, which means it's a feature.
Yeah. It's intentional.
Yeah. If you, at some points in Sonic 3, if you go too fast, then you could die, which is intentional because Dr. Robotnik put a trap there to stop Sonic. It's important that is intentional.
There's this really interesting one in Ice Cap for Tails specifically that isn't even a speed trap, it's just a trap. When you play the level as Tails, if you get far enough into it, which is very early on, you will just die. In the vertical loop, you'll just die. And then when you come back, it works fine.
Well, I mean, that's because he hits terminal velocity.
Right, and Tails can't handle it the way Sonic can.
Yeah.
He needs to get adjusted to it.
Yeah.
Eggman was aware of this and set up traps specifically to harm Tails.
Yeah, which is funny because you would think that someone who could fly would be a little more used to that, but you know.
Yeah. Anyway, the real thing that's happening there for anyone who's heard of this without actually getting context for it is that Ice Cap uses a vertical wrapping thing for the level, which like so does Metropolis in Sonic 2 for some of its acts, so does Marble Garden in Sonic 3. So that when you get to the bottom of the level map, you just loop back around to the top. And they intentionally work with that in a way to make it feel seamless. And use that for a bunch of set pieces where you don't progress by continuing vertically, you progress by going horizontally out of a vertically looping section. When you start the act as Sonic, it sets that vertical looping flag just fine at the snowboarding section. Because Tails starts past the snowboarding section, they forgot to initialize that in Sonic 3 alone. So when he hits the bottom of the level map, he hits the death plane and dies. And then it gets initialized when you respawn from the checkpoint. Or a special stage.
Oh, Tails.
Yeah. It's funny things.
Silly Tails.
Silly Tails. I mentioned it earlier, I like what Knuckles and the Floating Island bring to the setting a lot.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. Obviously, the Floating Island, they must have taken some inspiration from the Ghibli movie Laputa, Castle in the Sky, and I say that because Sonic has taken inspiration from that movie in other places too. But, you know, that's just kind of the time. And Sonic takes inspiration from a lot of media. The Death Egg is an obvious Death Star Star Wars parody. But I like the mystical aspects of the Floating Island in the same way that I like the mystical aspects of the Little Planet, of just things that exist in Sonic's world, and we accept it.
Yeah. Although with the Floating Island, it makes it a little weird that there's just like very well developed areas. Although I guess you could make the argument that like Carnival Night Zone is not just a carnival that exists on the floating island. Eggman probably built it.
Yeah, I wonder. There's not really any context for like how long Eggman was working on stuff up there before Sonic and Tails showed up.
Yeah. It does kind of feel a little bit like the only zone that really plays into the floating island being the floating island is Angel Island Zone, which like is being a little literal with it, but you know.
I feel like it's that and like the ruins aspects of Marble Garden and Hydro City, and that's kind of it.
Yeah,
Not really anything else about them specifically.
because like Ice Cap 2 is one of the more naturalistic zones, but it still kind of feels very dissonant because it is distinctly an ice zone rather than well, it is like on a mountaintop, but it doesn't necessarily feel like that. You kind of just feel like you're out in a big glacier.
Yeah, really. I mean, taking Sonic 3 and Knuckles as a whole, there's a ton of different locales on the floating island, and it's not like that can't happen. It's just like a little contrived.
It's very video gamey.
It's super video gamey. I feel like that's more noticeable in the and Knuckles half than the Sonic 3 half too.
Yeah.
I like that Marble Garden in particular feels very grounded, and obviously it's a very like earthy kind of zone. That's not me making a pun. It feels like a stable location.
Yeah.
That makes sense and has like actual signs of civilization, actual signs of locale to it. And Hydro City has a bit of that too. Only because like the signs of civilization it has also feel consistent in a worldly way. It's just that it's underwater, like flooded temples and the like.
Yeah. And there's other zones that are kind of like that, especially in the Sonic and Knuckles half.
Yeah.
It just feels kind of funny going from like an earthy temple to literally a pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I mean, it's kind of like why I feel the way I do about the and Knuckles half of the levels in the game, because you go from Mushroom Hill, which is pretty unique, to Flying Battery, which is off-world, so it doesn't have like any sort of attachment to anything else. It can be anywhere,
Mhm.
and then to Sandopolis, which is sprawling desert on the floating island, to Lava Reef, which is sprawling volcanic area.
There's just a whole video game on this island.
Yeah, it's almost like they were making a video game or something.
Yeah, weird. It's cool because I like all these zones, but yeah, in terms of them being thematically coherent, they are not.
That's like, I know we had like a whole discussion criticizing Sonic 2's level lineup, but I think I will kind of give Sonic 2 the upper hand there, in that for the most part it doesn't feel as video gamey in its setting, or in its zones, in the themes they have, because a lot of them don't even join together.
Hmm.
They don't have like the chemistry and connection that the Sonic 3 zones have as a string of levels. But only a couple of them feel like super video gamey to me. It'd be like Metropolis, maybe Mystic Cave, like Fortress.
I feel like in Sonic 2, just because a lot of the zones are distinctly very tropey or derivative in some way, makes them not really stand out to me as much as the Sonic 3 ones do. And maybe that's also because the Sonic 3 and Knuckles zones just don't get utilized as much. Um, but Casino Night feels very plain now in retrospect.
Right.
Metropolis is very like nothing. It's just like a big mechanical zone that has no real place in anything.
Yeah.
Oil Ocean is weird. I wouldn't say it's video gamey, but it's weird.
It's super weird.
I think Hilltop, the biggest problem with Hilltop is that because it reuses the level tiles from Emerald Hill Zone, it feels a little less there.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there's something about Aquatic Ruin that makes it feel a little more video gamey, but I can't place it. Because like a lot of the equivalents in Sonic 3, because they feel like more developed ideas, even if trope-wise they're a little more familiar, they stand out to me more as being more interesting.
I feel you. I'm just heavily critical of Sandopolis and Lava Reef in particular.
Yeah, I mean,
And they were new tropes for the series, for what it's worth. I also just kind of find them boring.
I think Lava Reef gets the benefit of also being Hidden Palace, but
Yeah.
Sandopolis is just kind of. I'm not going up to bat for Sandopolis.
I always think of Act 1 for Lava Reef as part of the problem.
Yeah.
Act 2 is cooler with the crystals in the foreground, and then the transition to Hidden Palace.
Yeah.
It gains a lot from that, but I always think of its first impression. And I just don't like Flying Battery. Like, I'll fully admit that I just flat don't like Flying Battery, and that has less to do with its visuals or its connection to the world or its theme, and more to do with I don't like the level design at all. It sucks.
It is unforgiving in Sonic and Knuckles. They made it very cool in Mania. I like what they did with Flying Battery in Mania a lot.
Yeah.
But in actual Sonic and Knuckles, you are definitely over a bottomless pit.
You're over a bottomless pit, and a ton of the level is super cramped.
Yeah.
It's like Mushroom Hill and Sky Sanctuary are like the only levels in Sonic and Knuckles that feel open. And I guess like Sandopolis Act 1 also.
Mm-hmm.
But like the rest of it is really hallway-y. It's a lot of pushing stuff gimmicks. It's a lot of running in place gimmicks, which, is a problem that Sonic 2 has toward the end as well. I guess kind of like at the time, Sonic Team just equated slower, more arduous stuff with more difficult. Because like Death Egg has this problem in places too.
Yeah, that does bring up something I was thinking when I was playing, which is that the game isn't necessarily hard, at least not the Sonic 3 portion that I was playing through. It's not like outwardly difficult in a way that feels like I'm ever breaking my stride, but I think that also has to do with just I've reached a level of play where I could play Sonic very comfortably, and the level design is built to reward that. Like, even if you're not super familiar with the level design 100% at all times, if you're at least used to playing as Sonic, you'll just have a really comfortable ride. It just won't be bumpy like at all. And it's not like, oh, they're just putting you in a straight line with when you're just going straight to the end in CD and not really exploring. You're still like exploring. You're still going around and doing different things in the levels, but it's very like calm, like nice and pleasant.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of how I felt about Mania for a long time, and I suppose I still do. It's just that I'm more tired of playing Mania. I think like that's still a true thing about playing Mania as someone who has experience playing Sonic and handling Sonic.
Right.
It's kind of like, I think once you get used to them, all of the Genesis Sonic games are pretty breezy. But like every time that I call one of them breezy, I feel like I mean it differently.
Yeah.
I need a better vocabulary for it, because Sonic 2 you breeze through and it doesn't feel like much of anything. Sonic 1 is breezy in that it feels very consistent, so it's easier to get a handle on it and just kind of sail through it once you understand it.
Yeah.
And it feels like nice in that way. Sonic CD can be breezed through in that it doesn't put up much resistance.
Yeah.
And then Sonic 3 is a breezy game, I feel, in a similar way to Sonic 1, where it just feels rewarding to have an understanding of how to get through it smoothly.
Yeah. And I think that like with Sonic 3, they really established what it means to be a breezy Sonic game. So,
yeah. On a level design perspective, kind of transition to another subject also. There are no zones in Sonic and Knuckles that have water in them. None. And there's only one in Sonic 3 that doesn't have water in it. And I think this was at least in Sonic 3's development, I think that was intentional to have so much water in all the zones somewhere, to incentivize use of the Bubble Shield, one of the 3 new elemental shields they added to the game.
Mm-hmm. The
I
elemental
don't know why they
shields are
dropped
the
water
best.
from Sonic and Knuckles, though.
Yeah, that is weird because that's literally what the bubble shield is for. The bubble shield makes water awesome. I feel like it controls differently in Sonic 3 and Knuckles than it does in Mania, especially when you're underwater. I feel like offhand Mania underwater felt a little less responsive compared to Sonic 3 underwater, which is weird. But overall the elemental shields are kind of the best. They are like the smartest thing they've ever added to Sonic, period. They fix so many problems, and it's a shame that only Sonic can use them to their full potential, I guess.
Yeah. I've thought about that before from like a fan game ideas perspective of other characters getting use out of the elemental shields. I think the ideal would be to give each character a different use for each shield, like Sonic Advance 3 style. It'd
Yeah.
be a ton of development work for it, but I think it'd be the only way to be fair to all the characters, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, how do I put this? The Insta Shield is great for Sonic, but if everyone had all the elemental shield abilities the exact same like he does in Sonic 3, he would just be less interesting.
Yeah.
He would still be probably the most fun to play in a weird way. But I think he'd be the least interesting.
I mean, that's another thing is Sonic loses his ability when he has a shield, but would you do that for Tails and Knuckles? I feel like their abilities are a little more vital to them kind of existing. Because
Yeah.
if you give Sonic, like, we'll just say the drop dash, because that's a more important ability, then that changes the value of the shields technically, because I don't think you can still do the drop dash when you have a non-standard shield in Mania.
Yeah. That's absolutely why they brought back the standard shield in Mania, was to give Sonic the ability to have a shield and still have the drop dash.
Yeah. So like I think the only way that would really work for the other characters is if you greatly alter their ability in some way, because obviously if you get rid of it, then there's no reason to play as Knuckles at all.
Yeah.
So maybe like, I mean, for just as like the fire shield, for example, maybe that would kind of adjust his speed cap for his glide and give him the hyper Knuckles like wall slam just without
Ooh,
being
yeah.
a screen nuke.
Yeah, like that's such an easy grab, especially since they're not doing the hyper forms anymore.
Yeah, and then maybe okay, maybe the bubble shield makes it so he bounce off of walls that he glides into.
Ugh. That'd be interesting.
I don't know what the electric shield would do.
I don't know either, but I could see the bubble shield basically giving him something akin to like Mighty's wall kick in feel.
Yeah,
Just like not the same without like the actual grabbing onto the wall. Be interesting.
make it give him a Super Metroid wall jump with it.
Yeah. I would play that.
These are free
Man.
ideas, fan game makers.
Yeah, exactly. Theorizing about this stuff is so much fun. The elemental shields, like you said, were just a flat good idea. Aside from adding so much to the gameplay and making Sonic in particular really fun to play as, they just flat out add so much to the level design too, because it rewards going different ways because you'll get different goodies.
Yeah.
It rewards taking the time to figure out how to get up to this place you can see but is too high to jump to, because there's a modder up there that you can see.
Yeah, and just the fact that every single shield is better in a given level. Like, you're not going to want the lightning shield ever in Hydro City, or you're only going to want the lightning shield in like Carnival Night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like Act 1 at least. it really changes how you approach the level as Sonic, because you have to play with that different tool set because of the benefits that it grants you.
Yeah, there's also something funny there with the lightning shield in particular, where like they give it to you in levels like Angel Island, and Launch Base, in places where you could theoretically keep it for the whole rest of the level should you know how to avoid the water.
Yeah.
And it's a vertically oriented ability that you get from it if you're playing Sonic, so it pairs well with that idea.
Yeah, and it helps that Angel Island, especially Act 2, is a very vertically oriented level.
Mm-hmm. I just like the elemental shields a lot.
I
I
like them a
also am
lot.
just a person who likes elemental theming a ton,
Hmm.
so it plays into my tastes.
It's
I
like,
have thought about like other elemental shields that I don't know what you would introduce.
yeah, they really covered their ground, especially with like between the abilities and like just what they do. I don't know what else you would add.
Yeah, I have had like one thought before, which is like a hover move, basically.
Mhm.
Uh, it's the only other thing I could think of because it's like the idea of a quote unquote neutral directional ability, where like the flame shield takes you forward, the lightning shield takes you upward, and the bubble shield takes you down. I don't know, like a wind shield or something would keep you still. And that could be things you could do with that to be interesting. But it's
I
not a very like it's not that captivating of an ability.
the thing that made me think of is instead of hovering necessarily, if you hold the button down, like if you hold jump a second time, um when you release it, you will like kind of shoot yourself a little tiny bit in the
Mm,
direction that you're pointing.
right.
So you have just like full directional movement there, but it's not super good. Like it's still not better than the lightning shield if you just want a straight double jump.
I regret to inform you, you just described the ability from that Triple Jazz game.
Hmm. Well, no, no, because mine wouldn't stop you in the air. Mine would be
Okay,
like the
that's
drop
what I
dash.
missed.
Yeah,
Okay,
it would
cool.
be the drop dash, but you want to release it in the air.
You want to time it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds fun. Like, there are a lot of interesting things you could do with that.
Yeah.
Because another thing I've thought about in like fan game ideas is how to make a Sonic exclusive route
Hmm.
that like
Yeah.
other characters can't go on, and like I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Most of the time, there isn't really. The problem is there isn't really anything stopping Tails from going anywhere Sonic could go with any ability.
Hmm.
And I mean, I guess if you're fine with that from a level design perspective, presumably every team that's worked on 2D Sonic has had to
Hmm.
be fine with that.
Because like I am completely averse to the idea of like a power up exclusive route unless the only thing that requires it is getting in, or if it's like a really
Hmm.
tiny bonus room. Like I know Mania does that a couple times.
Yeah.
Um, because that's like the Mario Maker problem, is that now they have so many different cool power ups that like give you completely different toolkits. But if you get hurt,
Right.
you lose that. So what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And you get levels that like even I've made where they just have to keep funneling you the power up to guarantee you can actually keep making progress.
Yeah, and like sure, there's other ways of impeding progress besides getting hurt, but like that is the main way that you're supposed to, I guess, punish the player for
Hmm.
failing a given challenge. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's not like a design problem I think we're very equipped to work through.
I have an idea though. It's a very Sonic-y solution.
Yeah?
If you do it, the punishment is just that you get kicked out of it. Like you just fall.
Yeah. I mean, I was also kind of thinking that. I feel like even people in Mario Maker can do that, they just don't.
Yeah, well the thing, if you're doing a Mario Maker level with it, usually that's the whole that gimmick is the entire focus of the level. But
Yeah,
like
they should be designing levels where half the level is focused on that gimmick,
yeah,
and
so like
you fall out of it and you end up somewhere else.
yeah, in a Sonic level, you're already building the level that way. So if you
Hmm.
have just a big like shield exclusive route, you can kind of do that where like you punish the player by just kicking them out of that bonus area.
Yeah, I. It's really straightforward, but like that's what they do.
Yeah. These are all relevant thoughts because Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the game that basically put these ideas in everyone's heads.
Sonic 3 and Knuckles makes you a game designer.
Yeah, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is probably, excluding Sonic 2, the most influential Sonic game on the very few remaining 2D Sonics there are to talk about.
Yeah. And, you know, for good reason.
Okay, yeah. It took me a second to realize what you meant by "for good reason" because I attributed immediately to that being because there's very few 2D Sonics.
I mean, that's true, but I did mean it as like Sonic 3 Knuckles is really good, so it sent shockwaves.
Yeah, exactly.
Its design ideas ripple out into other Sonic games in good ways.
Yeah, and here's a real jumping the shark question. Out of any future 2D Sonics, excluding Mania, I guess, because that feels like a cheating answer, which one feels like the one that kind of actually progresses from Sonic and Knuckles the most? Because I have my answer that like I don't think I'm equipped right now to elaborate on because it's been a while, but I want to hear your answer first.
I feel the same. You said 2D Sonics, right?
Yeah.
Sonic Advance 3.
Yeah, we have the same answer. Okay.
Yeah. Then maybe we can get into it like a little bit because like, it's the only thing that like I have as a strong point for it is that Sonic Advance 3, from a design standpoint, does anything new.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything particularly new that doesn't feel like it's a completely different branch of game design, in the way that Sonic Advance 2 is. Because yeah, Sonic Advance 2, still a platformer, but it's also much more interested in constant speed, getting the player to understand how to make constant speed happen, and I don't know, I guess that's kind of it. All of its level design facilitates that, and it also facilitates punishing the player for not picking up on its level design language and punishing the player hard. So like, that's where Sonic Advance 2 is compared to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is a game that doesn't punish the player hard most of the time. Yeah. And then Sonic Advance 3 has much more varied level design. It clearly has some kind of design goal of each zone explores different level design angles in each act intentionally, and that's got multiple playable characters with mechanics that intersect.
Yeah, I think there's two things with Sonic Advance 3's extra characters is that I feel like it's the first one that really utilizes them in an interesting way because it introduces a new mechanic that does actively utilize them, because
True.
Those new characters have been gradually getting added over the course of the Sonic Advance trilogy. But it's not until Advance 3 that they take all of those characters and do something interesting and new with them by letting you kind of mix and match and get the different abilities.
Right. And we were talking about the elemental shields and like taking inspiration from Sonic Advance 3 to give all the characters different effects or abilities from the shields. That was just me kind of like reaching for a comparison point, but I do think there's something comparable there between what the shields add to Sonic 3's gameplay and what the character combinations add to Sonic Advance 3's gameplay.
Yeah, it's an opposite solution to the same problem. I think it's because that's why they don't have the shields in the advanced games, or at least that's the first game that really makes it kind of worthwhile. Is like you said, the things that the shields give you are now just the different combinations of characters.
Yeah. That's basically it. So like there's really an opportunity to like transfer that design idea back to shields if they wanted to.
Yeah. Which I guess that would just be making more shields, or just giving more features to characters who usually don't utilize the shields to their fullest.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Knuckles a little bit, because I feel like we didn't really dwell on him that much And he is like
Yeah.
the big new addition to this game. He is here. He is finally here.
Right. See, like Tails was the big new addition to Sonic 3, but Knuckles is the big new addition to Sonic and Knuckles, at least from a gameplay standpoint.
That's true. Actually, that's true. I can't even be ironic about that. That's actually true.
Yeah. I mean, to the point that Tails isn't in Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah.
He flat out doesn't exist.
God, it's like I don't really have beef that there's no Tails there, but it does create an interesting kind of perspective if you play them not locked on, where it does make it feel like there's some gap in time between Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. Whereas otherwise they are literally just continued one after another.
I didn't really think about it, but like that's totally a plausible viewing of them as separate games, especially considering it was between February and October of 1994 they came out as separate games.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of real world time impacts the way a lot of people probably viewed the game timeline at the time.
Yeah, that has a very similar vibe to, I think, the relationship that like Sonic Mania and Sonic Mania Adventures has in like a weird way.
Oh, interesting. I thought you were going to say Sonic Mania and Sonic Mania Plus, but that's also true.
I think Sonic Mania Plus because the storyline is not as, important. And it's basically just you retreading all the levels again, but different. There's not really it doesn't have a place in time. It feels like the time equivalent of like what we had said about Metropolis Zone, where it doesn't really feel like it's anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you were saying about Knuckles.
Yeah, they added him to this game. Knuckles is a cool new character. He is basically the first rival that Sonic has ever had, excluding Metal Sonic.
That's true, yeah. He feels like more impactful of a rival than Metal Sonic did a first appearance, because Metal Sonic's there not even in the intro cinematic for Sonic CD.
Mm-hmm.
Just has the 2 appearances in the whole game, and the first one comes and goes real quick, and the second one is cool, but you kind of forget about Metal Sonic by that point, unless you've been going out of your way to find the Metal Sonic projectors and smash them.
Yeah.
And then he's just there, and then he's not there anymore.
Knuckles, his literally the first thing he does is hit you in the face with pathos that makes you want to go out and get him.
Yeah. He took your emeralds.
He took all of your emeralds. You literally had all of them, and now you gotta get him again?
You were invincible, and he punched you.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? He never does that again.
Well, actually, to continue derailing from Knuckles, that does that is an interesting implication of like I guess the limits of Supersonic, because that kind of ties into how if you fly into like a meteorite, he still gets stunned, but he doesn't necessarily lose rings. If you were to hit Supersonic with enough force, he would just lose the emeralds. Like the laws of physics still apply.
It probably goes by Super Saiyan rules, so we just don't see them on screen.
True.
Sonic just hits Supersonic 2 at some point, and no one acknowledges this.
It's hypersonic.
What?
I don't know what bit this is.
What is that? What's hypersonic?
I'm going with the unironic bit, because this could just as well be a bit about how they are non-canon because Iizuka said so.
It's a bit about they're not canon. It's a bit about they're not canon. We did this bit last episode too.
Oh yeah, true. I can only take so much.
I mean, tangential to this, I'd love to mention that the Mania team was thinking about bringing the Super Emeralds back, but I think it was basically like Iizuka was like, no, don't.
I understand the motive, because yeah, you do have power creep if you literally always constantly have 2 sets of emeralds. But come on!
They're cool, and also we as fans of media empire are conditioned to enjoy the things that only showed up once or twice and never again.
It's also just a good reward for like what, 102%? I'm not gonna say 200% because that's wrong.
Yeah,
it's Hypersonic is like 101% completion bonus because you're giving up supersonic to get another set of 7 harder special stages, which is a cool idea and makes replays a lot more enticing because it makes the harder levels harder by giving you more to do. And yeah, they're not canon. Like, okay, when I say they're not canon, it's not for the same reasons that Izuka says they're not canon,
Yeah.
because he says they're not canon as in like we will never bring them back and it never happened to begin with. I mean
Yeah,
they're
they
not
don't
canon.
exist, is what Izuka says.
Yeah, they are canon, but Sonic didn't need to use them to get the true ending of Sonic and Knuckles, so it doesn't matter. They are
Yeah.
literally there as just plussing out your playthrough. So you don't even have to worry about power creep. You just don't give Hypersonic the supersonic treatment and make him required ever.
Ever. Completely optional. That's how it works.
Yeah. You just resist the temptation from now until the end of time to have a true final boss where Sonic goes one step beyond and he goes hyper. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Luckily, they haven't.
Or wait, no, you could still do that. Just make it a non-canon ending.
I guess. Yeah.
Like, just make
Like
the
they
supersonic
could.
ending still satisfying, but make the hypersonic ending like obviously ridiculous.
I like that because I think it's fun. I think I would still I still think they shouldn't
Right.
do it just because like it would be further incentivizing getting hypersonic
Yeah, that's true.
and making it feel like even though it's clearly out of the realm of the game's tone, however they choose to handle it, like it would still be uh, a game ending incentive instead of like just something you choose to do for the sake of it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would want that. I did enjoy the Ann Knuckles ending in Mania.
Yeah. Speaking of Knuckles,
Yeah, right. We're trying to talk about that guy, I think.
yeah, I feel like it's hard to stay focused on him in the context of Sonic 3 because so much of it is just gameplay and like we covered his gameplay. Um
Did we? We didn't even mention that he can climb up walls.
he can climb up walls. Like that's the thing. He can climb up walls and he can glide. I I'm not it's not my favorite style of gameplay.
I enjoy the methodical aspect of it sometimes.
Hmm.
I think it is nice to have a gameplay kit where the movement speed is very consistent
Right.
and also not too slow. Uh, it's like having full control of your emotion. It's just kind of nice sometimes, but it's not always very exciting.
Yeah, that's why for me that's Blaze. Blaze is just a little bit slower, has a better jump, and you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, true. Knuckles got that lower jump. It really holds him back.
Yeah, the lower jump does so much to hampering Knuckles' game feel, I think. And like if you like it, you like it, but if you don't, it's gonna be really hard to get into it.
I can't remember if they kept his lower jump for the advanced games. I think they didn't.
Did they not?
I don't know. I feel like they didn't.
That would be weird.
Well, they didn't have branching character paths that were like mandatory
Oh yeah,
in
true.
in advance.
Hmm.
And also everyone played basically the same in advance too.
Yeah. Hmm.
I also can't remember if Knuckles had the lower jump in Chaotix. I feel like he did, even though it impacts nothing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they have. Well, I would say because they have Mighty, who is basically Sonic.
Yeah.
Although they like you said, they could very well just all have the same jump height arbitrarily anyway.
Yeah. I just can't remember. I feel like even more arbitrarily they kept Knuckles' jump height because it.
Hmm.
I mean, it really doesn't impact anything. Everyone has to go up.
Yeah.
Everyone has to use walls to go up except Charmy. So everyone goes up.
Yeah.
And also, you could just have your buddy toss you if you're if you're Knuckles. You were playing with someone else anyway.
Yeah.
Chaotix is a weird game. We should talk about that.
Now?
No. Like soon.
Yeah.
Saying it should be on our plate.
Yeah. I mean, I've got it in the microwave right now.
Oh, okay. That soon. All right. Well, let's keep this going then.
Yeah.
Before that's done. Did you have any? Do we want to talk about Knuckles from a design standpoint, from a character standpoint? We were kind of getting there.
We could. I was going to talk about super forms.
Oh, what do you have to say about super forms?
They're weird. This is the game where they're weird. So Sonic has always had a super form, right? As long as super forms have existed. Knuckles also has like a super form, and just like Sonic, he has Hyper Knuckles.
Yeah.
Tails doesn't. Tails
Yeah.
does not have a super form. He has a hyper form only, and his hyper form is his super form. So that means Super Tails is 100% non-canon.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Tails cannot harness the power of the Chaos Emeralds and go super by normal means. It just can't happen.
That also means that in order to get the feeling of like having reached that level of completion that you get just from getting the 7 emeralds with Sonic or Knuckles as Tails, you have to get all 14.
Yep.
Which is strange.
I mean, I guess Mania does retcon that. Well,
yeah, I'm not sure how much Mania retcons it and how much Mania just doesn't care for canonicity. Like, well, I'm actually not sure.
If Mania comes after, then it technically isn't a retcon. You can make the argument that by that point he is capable of using the energy for whatever reason.
I guess what I meant was less retcon and more just continuity change, period.
Right, yeah.
Just like bringing the idea on the table that actually Tails can use the emeralds. And that's true going forward. And we'll be like, okay.
Yeah. And like we touched upon it earlier, but Knuckles has some pretty cool stuff when he goes super and hyper. I think it's only in hyper is when he gets the screen nuke. But
I think so, yeah. But he still gets some kind of slam effect when gliding fast as Super Knuckles.
Yeah. Cause Knuckles, yeah, when he glides into a wall, the whole screen shakes, and I think if you're hyper Knuckles, then any on-screen badniks just pop instantly, which is pretty cool. I think that is
any on-screen bad. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I said what I had to say.
I was just gonna say it's any on-screen badniks and anything that you can bust open.
Really, even monitors?
Not a monitor. I was about to say anything you can bust open that isn't a monitor, because you can bust open, like the gate switches in Lava Reef, the ones that aren't buttons, the one that you just bop and the door opens.
Right.
And some other things as well. It affects the weird ice spikes and ice cap that are in the Knuckles only section that hurt you even if you're super. It does some weird stuff. I should watch the Oracle Sonic 3 and Knuckles glitches, oversights, and etc. videos again.
Mm-hmm.
You were gonna say though about the screen nuke.
Oh, I think I said all the stuff I had to say with it. It is just neat. And Hypersonic gets his double jump. Well, air dash, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also a screen nuke.
Yeah, Hypersonic gets an all-directional air dash that anytime he performs it, the screen flashes and everything on screen just dies. Same way as Knuckles.
Yeah, it's so much.
Yeah. And Tails, whatever they did to him, he gets a bunch of flickies that come in and will auto-target anything that can be auto-targeted, including bosses.
Yeah, it's like a proto Cream the Rabbit.
Yeah, and there's 4 of them, and they all act on their own, so Tails will just take care of bosses. Not that you would have a problem because you're hyper.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
They did a good job making Sonic and Tails hyper abilities like super overpowered in a way that feels like a strong reward for doing everything that there is to do. I feel like they could have done more with Knuckles, but I don't know how.
Knuckles is very situational because you have to have a wall to do it. You need a wall and enough speed. My equivalent would be making it so this would be obnoxious, but anytime you land as well from a glide, so that way all you have to do is do that. Because like he already has the kind of end lag when he lands from a glide, so just make it so when he lands on his feet from a glide, that's just a ground slam.
Yeah, because the only other thing I could think of would be to give him some sort of augment in the same way Tails gets the flickies. I just don't know what it would be.
Give him punches and then make them have a projectile.
Oh, God. The ring toss ability that Sonic had in the prototype, they just give it to Knuckles.
God. There you go. Problem solved.
Problem solved. Turn Sonic into a running gun.
Yeah.
They somehow haven't done that yet.
They tried in 3D.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But in 2D, you're right. They have not.
It's funny. This is a real aside, but like I never thought of 3D running gun as a genre. Like,
Yeah.
At that point, you're a third-person shooter, I think. But like, somehow that feels drastically different from a 2D running gun platformer. I don't know, because like there are 3D Metal Slugs. They're not good. And I also don't know if I would classify them as running guns.
I'm gonna raise you this. Shadow the Hedgehog is a 3D run and gun. It is by technicality a third-person shooter in the sense that you are in the third person and you can have a gun that shoots, but it is not a third-person shooter in the same way that third-person shooters are third-person shooters.
Totally. There's no over-the-shoulder or anything.
Yeah, it's not like Splatoon where it's the only thing that you're doing.
That's so interesting. I feel like that's kind of true. It just doesn't lean into it because it never makes shooting a challenge.
Yeah.
In the way that 2D running guns do, like where you have to properly position yourself in order to get the correct shot at the correct level, at the correct angle to hit an enemy that's coming toward you.
Yeah, and I guess in that way that third-person shooters are basically the equivalent, but they're still slower paced than a running gun. So
totally. That's why I feel like they're different. It's so weird. If anyone listening to this knows anything they would absolutely classify as a 3D running gun platformer, I'd be curious.
Yeah, put it in the comments on YouTube when this is uploaded.
Yeah, but setting that all aside, I don't have any good ideas for Hyper Knuckles, so I guess he's fine.
Yeah, I guess he's fine too. Just make is his jump normal when he's hyper or super? Okay.
No, they could never give him a higher jump because then it would break the whole level design.
I guess you're right, yeah.
Just the way they approached it. Like, I think it would be a great reward.
Yeah,
to give Knuckles like full traversal freedom, but they would have to design the game around that possibility. And they don't. They literally have boss triggers for Sonic and Tails and Knuckles that only activate for that pair of characters or Knuckles.
Did Mania do that?
No, Mania still doesn't augment his jump height when you go super.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Which is funny because Mania even further disincentivizes like the idea of Knuckles not being able to go where Sonic and Tails can go.
Poor Knuckles.
Yeah. It's really weird. Everyone gets a higher jump in Mania from going super except Knuckles.
He just can't jump.
Poor guy.
The Legos on his shoes are just lead. Speaking of Knuckles, he's rude.
Yeah.
And dumb.
Yeah.
So the plot of Sonic 3 is Knuckles, the guardian of the Master Emerald, hanging out on the Angel Island floating island. He's just hanging out one day, and all of a sudden Eggman just shows up. And he's like, hey, you gotta watch out. I'm totally a good guy, so you should listen to me. But there's this totally evil blue guy who's coming. He stole the Chaos Emeralds where I'm from, and he's coming hurtling this way. You gotta stop him. He's coming after your Chaos Emeralds. I mean Master Emeralds too. And Knuckles says, okay.
Ooh. You know what absolutely happened there?
What?
Eggman says, he's going to take your emeralds too. And Knuckles says, the Master Emerald? And Eggman's like, there's a master. Yes, the Master Emerald.
Yeah.
Poor Knuckles.
Poor Knuckles. Like,
getting the short end of the stick gameplay wise and in the story.
Yeah. It's always stuck out in my mind that like people typecast Knuckles as being like cool and aloof, and I guess he is, but he's also stupid.
I like to think of it as naivete.
It's I think it's a little bit of both because like come
Mhm.
adventure, like come on.
True. Yeah. I think like Sonic 3 and Knuckles leaves room to read Knuckles' inclusion as the plot or in the plot as mostly him not having experience with the outside world.
Yeah.
Whereas like Adventure doesn't have that as much.
Yeah. Wait a minute, he gets tricked again in Advance 3. Or not Advance 3, Advance 2.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's what the cutscene implies. It's super weird that he's just in one of Eggman's machines and he's cool with it and he's operating it and trying to stop Sonic, and it's so weird.
Yeah. I'm holding fast. Knuckles is an idiot. He might have
Yeah, I
started
think at that
naive, but
point,
he's an idiot.
I think at that point it's super fair, especially if you decide to consider Triple Trouble and Sonic Pocket Adventure
Oh my god.
canon. Got to figure out when those happen somewhere. Poor Knuckles. I like him. He's a doof.
He is. I think he's. I like wanted to instinctively say he's a funnier doof in Sonic Adventure 2 just because of how he acts, and he's very like, okay, well, I guess I'll go get the Master Emeralds, and he mutters to himself a lot, like he talks like an anime character.
I like him in Adventure 1 a little bit more than in Adventure 2 just because his monologuing to himself while he's hanging out at the Emerald Altar is really compelling to me. I wish they could have explored his ties to the loss of an advanced civilization and being the only remnant, and one, how'd that happen? Two, what's he going to do with it? Three, where's he going to go with his life?
Yeah.
But no.
Have we
Never.
mentioned that on the show? I think we did, right?
I mentioned it briefly. Like, we talked about Knuckles a little bit in one of the SA2 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
And I was talking about then how, like, they really dropped any sort of opportunity to explore him interestingly as a character divorced from his role as guardian of the Master Emerald, because he's divorced from it. They just won't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Like, all the setup is there.
It's so strange how much they use him because like he is definitely one of the most iconic Sonic characters, but he's a situational character that he shouldn't be.
Yeah. They made him non-situational. They by force.
Yeah, like Amy was here the whole time waiting for her turn. She never got it.
This is kind of funny. Getting off things again, but like I wouldn't say that they made Shadow less situational, you know? Because they actually did de-emphasize him for the mainline games for a while.
Yeah.
And then had him appear in Forces again, and it was like a slightly dramatic moment, but he was also off doing his own thing for like the side story of that game, so it felt less like he was there to be one of the buddies, you know?
Yeah.
So they can do it with him.
He's a different kind of situational.
He's a different kind of situational, so they can kind of do it with him. They should go back to doing it with Knuckles.
Yeah, and instead of having him show up and be like the military leader or whatever.
Yeah.
A role
That's
perfect
so
for Knuckles.
It's so funny though, because they spend the whole game making it clear why he shouldn't be the military leader.
Mm-hmm.
Through everything that he does. There's no way the game's on his side. Like, absolutely not.
It will have its time. But
Yeah,
not today.
We're trying to talk about Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's my favorite Genesis game. Or Genesis Sonic game, at least.
Do you have a different favorite Genesis game?
No, I just didn't want to jump that shark.
Yeah. I don't know if I can put my foot down concretely about that either.
Mm-hmm.
I would really have to, like, aside from just playing more Genesis games, period, I would have to play Sonic 3 and Streets of Rage 2 back to back a bunch of times to see how I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I got something I want to mention about Sonic 3 before we go, which is that Marble Garden and Ice Cat are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They look fantastic, and in this funny way where you and I have talked about this before. I don't know if it's come up on the show yet, but like Sonic 3 visually is clearly geared toward being displayed on a CRT.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of visual noise that it still looks fine outside of that context, but like all of that noise blends together in a way that makes it clear what their goal was visually, was to have enough detail on screen that when it gets blurred, it just looks like a place instead of looking like something that has particular art direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the main place that doesn't, or the main zone that doesn't hold up as much under scrutiny is Angel Island, just because there is so much pixel noise going on, which like even in Mania when they tried to clean that up, it's still really, really noisy and tiley.
Yeah, I almost feel like it looks worse in a weird way, just because it's in the context of Mania.
It with how noisy it is in it's so weird. Thinking about it, it's so noisy in Sonic 3 that it almost feels like some weird, like, I almost want to say Art Deco, but I'm pretty sure that's not the right one that I'm thinking of. But like, you know what I mean? It feels like some kind of really weird off art style choice rather than it literally being just there for a CRT. Like it still registers.
Kind of looks like a collage.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like a collage. It registers in your brain as what it is supposed to be, but the detail is is noise basically.
Yeah.
And then in Mania they cleaned up the individual like noise bits, like it's recognizably leaves and stuff, but it's still really tiley and weird. It's still the same shape, so it's still like recognizably Angel Island, but it still feels like a little bit weird with the way it's constructed.
Yeah. And then you get to Hydro City and onward, and it's just everything from that point is so much cleaner.
Yeah.
Probably the only thing that like comes close would be Launch Base, and that's just because Launch Base just looks a little dirtier.
Yeah.
Just period. But I highlight Marble Garden and Ice Cat particularly just because they have really good art design on top of the visual style. And they just look nice. They've got good color palettes. Ice Cap incredibly doesn't look like monochrome, despite being like all blue, all indigo over, because it uses its shades really well and does a good job contrasting the foreground and background. So it feels like it has a presence, and the way that it's all blue makes it feel colder more than it makes it feel static, which is nice.
Yeah.
I just like the purple mountains in Marble Garden. It has this very cool thing of like using the entirety of the cool spectrum in some way, and then a bit of yellow and orange to pop, and it feels, you know, I call it grounded earlier. It feels grounded from an art design standpoint too.
Marble Garden is a cool zone brought down by spinning tops.
Brought down by spinning tops, because everything else I like about it.
Yeah.
What other Sonic zone has such cool use of like insanely steep slopes?
Nothing.
Yeah, like nothing until like City Escape.
Yeah, or Stardust Speedway and Mania, which is cheating because that's Marble Garden stuff.
Yeah, it's Marble Garden 3. Yeah, there's my Marble Garden. What's a good word for rant or tirade or screed? There's a good word for those, but I don't know it.
Gush?
Yeah, there's my Marble Garden gush. My Marble Gushton. That's it. That's what I care about.
I care about Blue Sphere. Blue Sphere is awesome.
Whoa, we haven't talked about Blue Sphere yet.
We spent this whole time not talking about Blue Sphere, but now we're talking about Blue Sphere. It's a lightning round.
Now we're talking about Blue Sphere.
Oh, it's this is the Sonic 3 lightning round. We also didn't talk about the bonus stages.
Oh my god. Okay, cool. Well, first off, do you know what you do in Blue Spheres? You get them.
You do get them.
You get them. What you don't do is you don't get the red ones.
And if you go around in a circle with the blue ones, they turn into rings.
Yeah. You gotta watch out. When you get the blue ones, they turn red. But if you do what Mitch just mentioned, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, because they turn into rings.
Yeah,
That's how you
and
get
you
a
want this.
perfect.
Perfect.
And you get the big continue
Sonic-
bonus.
Sonic likes being perfect, but only when he's playing Blue Sphere. Otherwise, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool of him because we relate on that front.
Yeah. And then the bonus stages are neat. So you know the thing that Sonic 2 did where it put the special stages and the checkpoints? Sonic 3 was like, this is an okay idea, but you're stupid. I'm gonna just let you get bonuses that only last like 20 seconds at these checkpoints instead. And instead of needing 50 rings, you only need like 20. And that's what they did, and it's awesome. And there's 3 different bonus stages, and you get different ones depending on how many rings you have when you hit the checkpoint. And the best one is Glow Ball, and I'm not taking it. I'm not ever gonna go down about that.
Yeah. One of them is just a giant gumball machine, and
Yeah.
it rules.
It's
rules. Great. You turn the thing, and a power-up comes out, and you bounce off the wall, and you get it, and then you have it. It's done. It's such a speedy transaction.
Yeah. And then one of them is just a slot machine, and you hate it.
Yeah. They were like, it's so good to get rings from this slot machine that might give you rings or might not. That we're gonna make it really annoying and hard to get back to it after the first time you fall in it.
Yeah. It's also the only bonus stage where you can actively lose rings for going into
That's
it.
true.
So
Yeah.
because whenever you go into it, you are guaranteed a turn in the slot machine. So if you roll Eggmans on that first automatic turn, oops.
Dang, that sucks. I never thought about it that way before. Literally, the gumball in magnetic spheres ones, the glow ball, those don't hurt you at all.
Yeah, it's always a net positive.
God. The glow ball one is great because it requires skill with a mechanic that doesn't exist outside of it. And
Yep.
once you get it, it feels so fun.
Yeah, which is why it's weird that Mania took it and designed an entire zone around it.
I don't think it's weird. I think it's very cool because it's a cool mechanic and designing a level around it is neat. But I think it's weird that it took until Mania for them to do it.
Yeah, I do think it's important to note that it is definitely one of the main classic Sonic like gimmicks that is the hardest to wrap your head around, and I think that's also why a lot of people aren't super big on Titanic Monarch in general, is because they don't understand how the glow balls work.
That's fair. It would probably be better if it operated a little more, if it operated a little closer to the gears and circles that you run on in like Carnival Night and Scrap Brain and the like, where like you can build speed on them and then launch off.
Right.
It's a little more intuitive, but also just feels better.
Yeah.
It was a good idea having the checkpoints, little like ring of sparkle stars that appear them for having rings, tying those to bonus stages instead. It was smart.
It was smart.
And then Mania took that and made it Blue Sphere instead.
Which is not smart. But
Yeah.
then if you have the plus DLC, you get a bonus stage again, and it's not like the best bonus stage in the world, but it's better.
Yeah, it's also, it's at the very least better than the slot machine in Sonic 3 because it can never be a net negative.
That's true.
That's pretty good. Controversial decision time, or decision? Controversial opinion time. Opinion? Controversial decision time. I think Sonic 3 is a good game.
I think it's the coolest game.
I think Sonic and Knuckles is alright.
Yeah.
I already kind of talked about how I view them as separate games, and it's so funny because 2 years ago I would not have felt that way, but like, I just think the Sonic 3 half has higher highs than the Sonic and Knuckles half does, and the Sonic and Knuckles half has lower lows than the Sonic 3 half does.
Yeah,
it benefits me to want to approach them as separate games, even though they were all part of the same development cycle.
Yeah. I have a feeling that if I were to sit down and play through the rest of Sonic 3, Well, I mean, now that I'm like halfway through Sonic 3, it wouldn't be this way. But if I could sit down and do all of Sonic 3 in one sitting, and I could sit down and do all of Sonic and Knuckles in one sitting. It's a similar thing to Mania, where I'm not gonna say they're too long. It's a 2 sitting game.
Yeah. I think that's true. I don't really like playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles in one sitting in the same way I like playing Sonic 1 or 2 or CD in one sitting.
Yeah, so like in that respect, it's kind of weird to pinpoint what I guess the quote unquote perfect Sonic length would be.
Yeah.
Because it all kind of just hinges on whether or not you think a single sitting game is ideal.
That's true, and that's definitely part of why Sonic 3 and Knuckles has a save system. I mean, Sonic 3 alone has one. It doesn't necessarily need one, but it is nice because it's beneficial to new players.
Mhm.
But it definitely makes sense for Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It's just of a length where you are likely to want to put it down for a moment at some point.
Yeah. I think going off of that, this is a good spot to put things down for now. We'll be back next week with a different Sonic, but I think this is a good spot to close the book on Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and the Knuckles.
A different Sonic?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's a Sonic?
I mean, he shows up.
Oh, that's true. I guess that does make it a Sonic game, just like Rad Racer.
Yeah.
Oh, not Rad Racer, Radmobile. Sorry. Rad Racer's a different game. My Sega fan card gets revoked.
No.
I'm sorry, everyone. I have to go. I'll work on trying to get it back in time for next week. I'm sorry.
We will play through every game in the Genesis collection in the span of a week.
Oh, I can do that. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm Crepe. You can find me on Twitter at CrappyBlue.
I'm Mitt. You can find me on Twitter at MitsamiMario.
See you in the next zone.
Wait a minute, we didn't plug anything.
Oh.
We can't see you in the next zone yet.
No, hold on. Yeah, you go to Let's Talk About Sonic's site at LTASonic.carrd.co. You can back us on Patreon if you're so inclined. Patreon.com/LTASonic. And yeah, we already plugged our Twitter, so
yeah, now we'll see you in the next zone. Now you're free to go.
See you in the next zone. There's gonna be 5 acts, so look forward to it.